Well, good morning to you. It's Sunday, the 24th of May, 2020. And here we are again. I hope that these little thoughts that I'm sharing with you week after week are helpful and that they are encouraging to you. I want to read this morning from Psalm 137. Hear the word of the Lord. By the rivers of Babylon we sat down and we wept when we remembered Zion. There, on the poplars, we hung our harps, for there our captors asked us for songs. Our tormentors demanded songs of joy. They said, "Sing us one of the songs of Zion." How can we sing the songs of the Lord while in a foreign land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, may my right hand forget its skill. May my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth. If I do not remember you, if I do not consider Jerusalem my highest joy. Psalm 137. I don't know how you're feeling today, but perhaps you're feeling a little bit like the children of Israel. Not that you've been physically removed from your homeland, but the circumstances around you have certainly changed. Some of you listening to this today have lost loved ones. Some of you are isolated. We're all, in a sense, isolated from each other. We are so grateful for technology that allows us to communicate in some measure. But these are different days. That's an overused phrase or sentence. We're hearing that all the time. Things like new normal, things like changing days, never been like this before. Yes, you're right. It hasn't been like this before. But there are some similarities. There are some principles that govern how we are to deal with change. So this captivity for the children of Israel was no small thing. It was such a radical change for them that it threatened their ability to give thanks to the Lord. It threatened their ability to praise the Lord. The very experience that would bring the presence of the Lord into their midst, that is, praise, which God inhabits, was the very thing that they were about to abandon. And whether this was a long time of refraining from praising or whether it was a pause by the rivers of Babylon, we know that they hung their harps on the poplar trees. And not only did they suspend their vocal appreciation for God, but they suspended the instruments that would accompany them in praising the Lord. Today, I want to remind you that praising the Lord is not just a flash mob experience. Praising the Lord is not just an orchestrated 30-frame Zoom experience where everybody's perfectly synchronized. I'm not criticizing those things. They can be very encouraging. But I am here to remind you that praising the Lord comes from the very depths of our hearts. It is something that flows from the inside. It is something that we do not get tired of doing, regardless of the circumstances of life. Regardless of whether or not we are held captive hundreds of miles away from what is familiar to us, or whether we are restricted by a virus that has touched almost every person in the world, either by getting it or knowing someone who has it or being isolated from the potential of being infected. Different day indeed. But the praise of God is in our hearts. Listen to Ephesians chapter 5, verse 19. Let us sing and make music in our hearts to the Lord. Or it is using the tense that describes a personal challenge to worship the Lord. Let us sing and make music in your heart to the Lord. I include myself in this. This is not a preaching at you or a talking to you. This is a sharing in the responsibility that we all have to praise the Lord. This verse from Ephesians chapter 5 was the inspiration for a great old hymn that was written by Elton Roth in 1924. It's a hymn that I remember singing in Sunday school. It's a hymn that we used to sing often in church. And here are the words. I have a song that Jesus gave me. It was sent from heaven above. There never was a sweeter melody. It's the melody of love. And then listen to this verse. This verse describes what Jesus takes away from us, that is our sin, and then what he gives us, that is his joy. I love the Christ who died on Calvary, for he washed my sins away. He put within my heart a melody, and I know it's there to stay. And then the verse, that is the refrain. In my heart there rings a melody. There rings a melody of heaven's harmony. In my heart there rings a melody. There rings a melody of love. I am convinced, friends, that regardless of the situations of life, and I am not trying to downplay them or minimize their significance, but I believe that when Jesus comes to his creation, and the best of his creation, which is mankind, he does something miraculous. He puts something in us that nobody can take away, and that is praise and worship that comes through song. So wherever you are today, wherever you are in your isolation, if you don't have the ability to come together with a great choir, if you don't have the ability to come together with your church family, you still have the ability to sit by those rivers of Babylon. It's no time to hang up your harp. It's no time to stop your praise. It is a time to rejoice and praise the Lord, for God does inhabit the praises of his people. May the Lord bless you. We'll see you next week by the same time or whenever you would happen to view this. And until then, remain faithful, be safe, and enjoy the presence of Jesus. God bless you.